In this video, I'm trying to determine why my car is bogging down when I give it gas to the point that it's undrivable at the moment. So the first thing I'm going to do is pull off this wheel, and there's the fuel pump is located just back here, and I believe there are two inline filters. One that came with the aftermarket electronic fuel pump, which is a solid metal one, and a clear plastic one. And I can't remember which one is closest to the tank, but I'm going to pull them out, replace those two fuel filters, blow some air into the tube that goes into the tank, and then put in a new fuel filter, and then see if that solves my issue, which hopefully is just fuel. So here's the setup I'm working with. There's a small low pressure electric fuel pump where the original SU would have mounted, and there isn't. I thought I'd left the original metal fuel filter in line, but I must have replaced it with this plastic clear one, and it doesn't look terrible. It doesn't. I mean, there's some crap in it, but it's not. It doesn't look, as dirty as I've seen them. So I'm still going to take that out and blow some air into the tank and see if it's full of fuel, and there's definitely fuel still in the filter at the front. But I'm going to blow some air back into the tank, still in the hopes that my issue is like a fuel flow issue, and I'll replace that and we'll give it a go. So I've taken out the old fuel filter, and I'm just draining. Unfortunately, because of the angle I've got the car sitting at and the fuel tank was full, fuel is draining out of the tube that would normally run into the filter and then into the pump. So I've got to drain the tank down to the point where no more fuel is leaking out of here, so I can blow a little bit of air back through. So I'll do that, then I'll put the new filter on, and we'll give it a try. Okay, this is taking forever to drain this tank, so I'm going to spill a little bit of gasoline here and just pull out my little tube and blow some air through the tank, and just so I can get this moving along and put the new filter in. I can hear the bubbles in the tank. So I know that I'm good there. Now it shouldn't actually continue to drain. It was siphoning before, but now that I've blown all the fuel back into the tank over the top, it should be dry now. So I definitely heard fuel move back into the tank and could hear it bubbling away. So hopefully, if there was a blockage, it was minor. But if there was a blockage, then I've just blown it through. And so I'm going to put the new filter on, hook it back up again, and then drop the car down and see if the car runs any better. And if it still doesn't run any better, then I'll pull the filter off at the front, and I'll run the pump and see what kind of flow I get past the filter at the front of the car. Okay, new fuel filter's installed. I'm gonna fire up just turn on the pump, and hopefully we'll see this fill and prime the line again, and then we'll try firing up the car. So no fuel yet. So that's not a great sign. I'll put some fuel back in the tank. Maybe I took out more than I thought. And I'll try that again. Okay, got fuel flowing at the back, and I've just disconnected the pump at the front, or the filter at the front, pumped into a can. And I've got lots of flow. I'll show you what I'm looking at up there. So this is running through the old filter still that's up at the front, and I've got tons of flow. So I don't think that I've got any kind of blockage. I'll shut that down and put everything back. So button this all back up, connected this this inline fuel filter at the front again, run the pump to make sure that it's not leaking. And same thing with the rear. I ran the pump for just a couple seconds so that it was fully pressurized, but there was clearly lots of flow. I don't think that at least from the tank back to this point, there's good fuel flow to the carburetors. And the carburetors only have, since they were rebuilt, about 1,000 miles on them. So I think rather than taking the carburetors apart, maybe I'll pop the floats, pop the bowls off and take a look and see if there's a restriction, but I really don't think that that's the deal. All right, so I'm gonna try running the car again, see if I corrected anything with what I just did, changing that one filter and blowing some air through the tank. And I'll let it get up to temperature for a few minutes with the choke out, and then I'll put the choke in and we'll see if it's still bogging down when I try and make it accelerate. Well, that was a pretty dismal failure. No love there. We'll try a couple things and come back. Okay, so I know I've got fuel. I know I've got air. I know I've got fuel in both carburetors because when I lift up the pistons, I can see that there's way more fuel sitting in there than there should be. And I think it's because I'm trying to make it suck more air as I give it throttle, and it's not burning any of it, so it's definitely running way too rich, but I don't think that that's the primary cause, because it was running fine before all of a sudden it just started to run like crap. So I know I've got fuel. I haven't changed the carburetors. I haven't adjusted them from when they were running well. So that points me to spark. I'm not assuming it's the spark plugs to start with. I'm going to start looking at the distributor and the condenser. So I'm going to pull out the distributor, check the condenser, make sure the gap on the points is, hasn't changed. Maybe a screw came loose or something. Anyway, I'm going to pull the distributor out and check that, and then if everything in there looks okay, then I'll check the coil. The coil is definitely it's warmer than room temperature. So I think something on the electrical side. That's where I'm leaning now, because I think I've checked everything else. I'll show you what I'm looking at when I get it apart. Here's how I tested the capacitor, or the condenser, to show that that the one that I took out was bad, was causing the car not to run. So first, short out the condenser by touching the two pieces together, the end that would normally connect to the points and the other end that would normally be connected to ground. And put your meter to 20 mega ohms, which is the resistance side, and what this is going to do is partially charge the condenser. As you can see, nothing happens when I connect the points. They're the leads like this. So on this distributor with a good condenser, I've got the points open right now. I've just got the rotor turned so that the points are open. If I just short out the points so that I know that the condenser is discharged, and I put my negative side on the condenser and then the positive side on the points, you see it charges up and then it goes back to infinite. So there's the difference between a bad one and a good one. I'll just short this out again. I can short out. And changing the condenser is what made the difference. So one big problem seems to be solved. I replaced the condenser inside the distributor. I took out the old one and tested it and compared it to the readings that I was getting on a couple spares that I had. None of them new, but one old distributor that did work, that I took out, that was previous to this one. And so the condenser that was in this distributor read differently than the other two that I had. So I took one of those and put it in this distributor, put it back together, and she fired right up. Still needs some tuning. It's running a little bit rough, but it's running significantly better than the non-drivable. And so I learned something here. If the condenser goes, the car is, I guess if it goes in a certain way, the car is undrivable. It would get enough spark, I guess, to idle, but not enough spark when you're accelerating. As soon as you accelerate, the car just dies. So that's going to be another component that I keep in the trunk. A spare condenser, probably a spare set of points too. So that if I was, a couple 100 kilometers away when the car quit like that, I'd be able to fix it. That condenser that was in this distributor was not even a year old. It wasn't in use for more than a few months. So I did check the resistance on the two windings of the coil too, and they both seemed fine. So good news. So I can drive the car again. I can take it out it's too late tonight to take it out for a drive, but I'll take it out for a drive and then I'll tune the carburetors again and should be driving. Thanks for watching.